Welcome back to Hannity. It seems like each week we are learning new details about just how disastrous this Iranian nuclear deal really is. Now, keep in mind, just a few months ago, the Ayatollah was caught on tape chanting "Death to America," along with a large crowd of supporters. You may remember this.
هدفشون این است که مردم ایران رو در مقابل نظام اسلامی قرار بدن. این توجه بفرمایید. البته بله، مرگ بر آمریکا، چون آمریکا اون عامل اصلی این فشارهاست.
Yeah, death to America, of course, pretty unbelievable. Now, the Iranian president, Hassan Rouhani, sat down for an interview with 60 Minutes, and he said this about that chant. Take a look.
The U.S. has made many mistakes in the past regarding Iran and must make up for those mistakes. This slogan that is chanted is not a slogan against the American people. Our people respect the American people. The Iranian people are not looking for war with any country. But at the same time, the policies of the United States have been against the national interests of Iranian people. If America puts the enmity aside, if it initiates goodwill, and if it compensates for the past, the future situation between the United States and Iran will change.
Joining us now, Act for America founder Brigitte Gabriel, Fox News contributor Dr. Robert Jeffress, and the author of a new book, Indianapolis area Imam Mohammed Sadiq is with us. Mohammed, let me ask you this question, real simple. We're giving them $150 billion, building ICBMs. They'll have nuclear weapons in 11 years. You know, what did we get out of that deal? And why would we do a deal with people chanting "Death to America" and the destruction of Israel is non-negotiable? Why?
Well, keep in mind, Sean, with God's name, most gracious, most merciful, I'm American, and I'm sensitive to anything that hurts America.
I asked you, why should we do a deal with a country that chants "Death to America" and the destruction of Israel is non-negotiable? Why would we do that?
Because we're looking for a way to head off any type of nuclear disaster in the future.
Okay, what did we get out of this deal? Tell me what we got out of this deal.
What we get out of this deal is we get a chance to have a civil conversation.
A civil conversation. No, they're getting $150 billion. They're getting $150 billion.
But that's their own money, Sean.
And they're chanting "Death to America."
That's their own money.
They're chanting. They're saying "Death to Israel."
I'm not in agreement with the chants. I'm not in agreement with any of that.
I wouldn't give those people $150 billion. They don't deserve it.
But it's their own money. Maybe they don't, but all I'm saying is we're looking for a peaceful world.
Pastor Jeffress?
Yeah, let's put this in the context, Sean, of what we've been talking about Ben Carson's comments about Islam. Look, let's all be clear. Article 6 of the Constitution says that government can't impose a religious litmus test, but it has nothing to say about individual voters. Look, I think we ought to know what a candidate's faith is because it shapes his worldview, and Islam is a good illustration of that. Before I ever voted for a Muslim candidate, I'd want to hear that candidate renounce radical Islam, renounce the portions of the Quran that call for jihad against Israel and those who support her, and also renounce Muhammad for his atrocities against the Jewish people.
How do we get there? How do we get
because
from
all
Iran
of this,
to Ben
all of
Carson? How do we get
because
there?
all of Iran's hostility toward Israel comes out of a religious belief that Israel doesn't belong to that land and Israel ought to be exterminated from the face of the earth. A person's faith does make a difference. It shapes his worldview.
Let's go back to Dr. Carson a second, because this is where this is going.
Dr. Carson is a hypocrite.
All right, excuse me. You're not Brigitte. You don't look like Brigitte.
Hang on. He thought his oath was
Imam, it's not your turn. Hang on a second.
Okay.
Brigitte, is there any, I got the impression, we just talked to Dr. Carson, is there any Muslim country that you can name that it has values that are compatible with American values? In other words, in their treatment of women and minorities, etc. Any Muslim country you can think of?
No, I cannot think of any Muslim country because in almost every Muslim country around the world, their code, their law is Sharia law. And Sharia law is not compatible with the Constitution, and therefore the way they live their life according to Islamic law is very different than our definition of what freedom and democracy are all about.
You know, and Dr. Jeffress raised a number of points. I agree. You say you might consider voting for a Muslim president, but you'd want want him to denounce Sharia. You would want him to denounce some of the actions of Muhammad. You would want him to denounce the radical use of the Quran and get rid of war against the infidels and jihad against the infidels. Should that be mandatory? Dr. Jeffress?
Sean, I think that is in the voters' mind, whether or not that is something that is mandatory. But, Sean, I want to point out something. People who call Ben Carson a bigot for saying what he did, they would have to call John Jay, the first Chief Justice of the United States, a bigot as well, because John Jay said, quote, "In this Christian nation, we have the duty and the responsibility to prefer and select Christians as our leaders." He wrote those words just several years after Article 6 was ratified. I think he knows better the meaning of the Constitution than these liberal pundits.
Imam, I have a question for you. Name one Muslim country that treats women and minorities fairly.
I can't say anything about that.
You can't name one. Stop. Wait a minute. You can't name. Stop.
I don't.
Imam.
First of all, let's talk about fairly.
Imam.
What are we saying when we say fairly?
I'm asking you a simple question. We have all these Muslim countries. Indonesia. We could talk about anyone you want. Name one that treats women and minorities fairly.
I can say this, Sean. I don't know the inner workings of every Muslim country. But I can say this.
You can't name one, can you? You can't name it.
I can name plenty of countries.
Name one. Name one.
First of all, that's not the issue right here.
No, that's
Sean.
my question. Brigitte, I don't think he can he?
That is the issue, and he can't. All he can is come and shout. Now, you are an imam and you are a leader, and supposedly you are a thinker who can come on national television and defend your views. And it sounds like you are an uninformed person who does not have a person in this debate.
And coming up, ahead of his visit to America, Pope Francis is causing controversy by meeting with the murderer of Fidel Castro and his brother in Cuba. 2016 GOP presidential candidate Marco Rubio, who took a huge jump in the polls. He'll have reaction coming up next.